All right, so Algebra 1, Unit 3 review. This is what your test will look like. The only difference is your test may not have as many problems, so we may cut a few of these problems out, but at least you have more problems to practice with than what you will expect to see on your test. So first of all, let me give you all the answers right here. So pause the video, check your answers, and then you could just fast forward to the problems that you need to see. You don't have to watch the whole thing unless you want that extra practice just to see all the problems, then you can do that. But there's the answers. Fast forward to the ones that you need to see. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. All right, so first up, solving by elimination. Remember, this means that we need to cancel out one of our variables. And it really doesn't matter which one we choose. We just need to pick a variable that we can multiply by a number, and then that will eliminate it and get rid of it and leave us with only one variable. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to multiply this bottom equation by a -2. And what that will do is give me a -14 right here. And then that -14, when I add with the 14y up above, will cancel out and leave me with 0y. So I'll only be left with x's. So first of all, I'm going to recopy this top equation because that did not change at all. So 10x plus 14y equals 10. The bottom equation will change. We're going to multiply this -2 through here. So I'll get a 4x minus 14y. Just keep multiplying this through here. And 27 times 2 gives me 54. So that'll be a positive 54. So 14y minus 14y is 0. These cancel out. 10x minus negative 10x plus 4x gives me a -6x. And 10 plus 54 gives me 64. Hold on, back up. Just saw a mistake here. This should be a 2x, which gives me 8x down here. -8x. All right, divide by -8. Divide by -8. And I get that x is equal to -8. Choose one of your equations to plug that x into. Again, I would strongly suggest that you're coming back up to the original equations and not using one that we had already adjusted, because if you did like what I just did and multiplied -2 times x, for whatever reason I wrote down 4x, you just make little mistakes like that, and if you don't catch it like I did, you're going to end up with another mistake. So just make sure that you're checking your work each step, and you're just careful with everything. So I'm going to take the bottom equation and I'm going to plug in -8 for x and solve for y. So I have a double negative here. That gives me a positive 8 plus 7y equals -27. Then we will subtract 8 from both sides. 8 minus 8 is 0. That's gone. I have 7y equals -35. Divide both sides by 7 now to give me y equals -5. Remember, we have to put this as a point, so it has to be like an x, y coordinate like that, okay? So make sure your answer is written like that. All right, let's keep going here. For this equation here, it does not matter which one I choose to eliminate. I'm going to eliminate the x's here. So since this is a, oops, I'm multiplying the wrong equation there. Since we have a -6 and the bottom equation is a 12, remember I want this number right here to have to be the same number in front of the same variable with opposite signs. Well, they already have opposite signs and they're both in front of the x's, but I need to get that number to a 12, so I will multiply by 2. 2 times -6x is -12x. 2 times -10 is -20y, and 2 times -7 is -14. Now you can rewrite this second equation if you want to, but I'm just going to do it like this because I'm not changing that at all. So 12 minus 12 is 0. That's what we wanted to do. But in doing that, we also actually canceled out the y's. So my left-hand side is 0. My right-hand side is 6. This is false, which means no solution. All right, let's keep going here. This one's really nice because it's already set up for us. We have the same number in front of the same variable with different signs. Okay, that's what we want. So we have a positive 4y and we have a negative 4y. So this is already set up for us. We are ready to add the columns. 2x plus 3x is 5x. 4 minus 4 is 0. Those are gone. 18 minus 3 is 15. Divide both sides by 5 to get my x-coordinate of 3. I'm going to come up to the top equation, so 2x plus 4y equals 18. And I'm going to plug in this 3 for x because I know that x is equal to 3. So plug that in there. And now I'm ready to solve for my y coordinate. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 4y equals 18. Just like with all of our two-step equations, move the number that does not have a variable, so that means subtracting 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. Goodbye. 4y equals 18 minus 6 is 12. The last thing I need to do here is I want this to be a 1y, so I'm going to divide by 4 because 4 divided by 4 is 1. So 1y is equal to 12 divided by 4 is 3. Final answer, x, y, there we go. All right, here we go. We got 2 more of these elimination ones, and then we'll get into a substitution one. So first of all, if I'm looking at this here, I'm going to say, okay, which of these variables do I want to eliminate? And I notice that my y's already have opposite signs. So what I will do then is I will eliminate the y's. And what that means is I'm going to multiply the equation. So I multiply the top equation by 5. And then I will multiply the bottom equation by 7. Okay, and the reason why I'm using those numbers is because those were the coefficients of the variable that I chose to eliminate. Let's say I chose to eliminate the x's. Then I would multiply the bottom equation by 8 because there's an 8 here, and I would multiply the top equation by 7 because there's a 7 here. So it's all dependent on the variable that you choose to eliminate. All right, so let's go ahead and multiply this through. So 5, we're doing the distributive property. 5 times 8x is 40x. 5 times 7y is 35y. And 5 times negative 16 is negative 80. Now multiply the 7 through. 7 times 7x is 49x. 7 times negative 5y is negative 35y. And I see a mistake I made already. I forgot a y with this 35. Not a super big deal, but because we know that that's going to cancel anyway, but it is important to have it there. So, and 7 times negative 14, 7 times negative, come on, gives me a negative 98. Okay, so now we are ready to add the columns. All right, because my y's will cancel out. 35 minus 35 is 0. They're gone. So here we go. 40x plus 49x gives me 89x. Negative 80 minus 98 is a negative 178. And again, use your calculator here, okay? You're allowed to use your calculator on the whole thing, so use it. Make sure you're showing me what you're doing, but you still can use your calculator there. The last step, we will divide by 89, and we get that x is equal to negative 2. Come back up to, excuse me, one of your original equations. I'll take the top one. 8x plus 7y equals negative 16. And we will plug in this negative 2 for x. So 8 times negative 2 plus 7y equals negative 16. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16, plus 7y equals negative 16. Move the number with no variable. Right here, this is a negative 16, so I will do the opposite and add 16 to both sides. They're gone. 7y equals 0. And again, remember, like I said before, this is not a no solution or IMS because we did not get rid of the variables. Okay, there is still a variable here. So we divide by 7, and we get that our y coordinate is 0, which is allowed. I know a lot of times when we see that, people want to say, well, this isn't right, something's wrong here, and you try to fix it or you just say no solution, but that is not the case. We do have a solution, and it is 0. All right, one more elimination problem here, and then we will move on to substitution. Okay, so I eliminated the y's in the last one. I will now eliminate the x's. Main reason being, these have opposite signs already. Okay, so all I need to do is multiply by the number in front of the variable, which is 3 for the top equation, and the bottom equation will be an 8. So let's multiply through. Again, we're doing distributive property. 3 times 8x is 24x. Okay, just multiply this through. 3 times 8x. Next, 3 times negative 9y is, excuse me, negative 27y. And the last one, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Multiply the 8 through. 8 times negative 3, negative 24, which again, we should have the same number in front of the same sign with different I say it backwards all the time. The same number in front of the same variable with different signs because that was the variable we chose to eliminate. 8 times negative 2y is a negative 16y. And the last one, 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. Excuse me. Okay, here we go. 24 minus 24 is 0. They're gone. Next, negative 27 minus 16 is negative 42. Negative 43, sorry. I was thinking multiplying 6 times 7. Negative 43. Y equals negative 43. Divide by negative 43. Divide by negative 43. And remember, like I had said before, your problems in your homework, some of them gave you decimals. We're not going to do that to you on the test. We'll make the test all work out to be whole numbers, integers, positive, negatives, or zeros, or you could have a no solution or an IMS. But so here when we divide by negative 43, we get y equals 1. Let's take I'm going to take the bottom equation this time. I used the top one last time. So negative 3x minus 2y equals negative 5. And I know that y is 1. So let's plug that in and then solve for x. So here we go. Negative 3x. Negative 2 times 1 is a negative 2 equals negative 5. Add the 2 to both sides. Add 2. There we go. These are gone. I got negative 3x equals negative 3. Divide by negative 3, and I'm going to end up with another 1. So x equals 1. Final answer must be written as a point. There you go. Final answer. All right, so that is elimination. Now for substitution. So what we want to do is, again, if you remember this, substitute. We're going to take this value for y, which is an equation and not a number, and we are going to substitute that in here into the other equation for y. And remember, the reason why we're doing that is so that we have something with the same variable. We have an equation with the same variable that we can actually solve, because right now we cannot solve this because it has two separate variables. So negative 6x minus 3, and then like I said, I'm replacing that y with what I know y is equal to, which is, in this case, a negative 7x plus 6 equals negative 18. Okay, it's been a little while since we did substitution methods, so follow through, pause the video, rewind as many times as you need to make sure you understand this. Now we will do the distributive property, and from here, basically this is stuff we did at the beginning of chapter 3, where we just solved our two-step equations. So distributive property, combine like terms, move the number with no variable, multiply or divide by the number in front of the variable. So that's what we're doing here. Negative 3 times negative 7x is a positive 21x And the last part here for the distributive property, negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. Equals negative 18. So we get a nice problem here because when we add these together here, I'm going to end up with 15x. And then I have minus 18 equals negative 18. And you can see here that when I add 18 to both sides, again, not a no solution or IMS type problem because did I eliminate all the variables? No, the variable is still here. So since I still have a variable, I have 15x equals 0. That means that my x-coordinate, when I divide by 15, my x-coordinate is 0. So come back up here, take this equation that's already solved for y, and let's solve now, or let's plug in x and solve for y. So I'm just going to recopy this here real fast. I know that x is 0. Remember, we like it when 0 is an answer because it makes the math so much easier. Negative 7 times 0 is 0, so that's it. Y equals 6. Final answer, 0 is the x, 6 is the y coordinate. So there's your final answer. All right, so in our next section here, all we are doing is solving each equation. Okay, so solving the equations is just part of what we did in the previous section. So when you're solving systems of equations, we have these steps like this that I have underlined in red. That's basically the most difficult type of thing that you'll see in these problems. So we're going to start it off by the distributive property. So 7 times k is 7k. 7 times 3 is 21. And this is equal to negative 91. Now we will subtract 21 from both sides. These are gone. 21 minus 21 is 0. 7k is equal to negative 112. Divide both sides by 7, and we get that k is equal to negative 16. And again, although decimals and fractions and all that are possible solutions for these, we do not put them on the test because we want you to know that you have it correct or not. So basically on the test, we'll make them all turn out to be integers, positive or negative whole numbers. So just keep that in mind. Next, again, distributive property, that's what we're starting with here. So I'm going to rewrite 102 equals negative 7x. And now I will multiply this negative 6 through. But again, when you multiply that, don't multiply 6 through. It's a negative 6. This has to go with it. So negative 6 times x is negative 6x. And negative 6 times negative 4 is 24. All right, so let's see what we get here. Combine your like terms. Negative 7x minus 6x is negative 13x. So let's recopy. 102 equals negative 13x plus 24. Now we move the number with no variable, so that means subtracting 24 from both sides. Okay, 102 minus 24 gives us 78 equals negative 13x, and this over here is 0. Next, we divide by negative 13, divide by negative 13, and we end up getting 6, negative 6. So there's your final answer, negative 6. Number 9, same type of problem. It's almost identical to the last one, so we will do this the same way. Recopy everything up until this point right here, and again, don't forget to take the negative with the 4. Negative 4 times 8 is negative 32, and negative 4 times negative 5 gives me a positive 20n. Combine your like terms. What are my like terms here? Well, negative 3n plus 20n. So I have 87 is equal to, add those together, negative 3 plus 20 is 17n minus 32. Add 32 to both sides. Again, we're moving the number that does not have a variable. This is a negative 32, so I need to do the opposite and add, so that's gone. 87 plus 32 gives me 119 equals 17n. And then the last step, we will divide both sides by 17. And we get that 7 equals n, or n equals 7, same thing. Next, same thing here. We're starting out with our distributive property. So I'm going to recopy the negative 138 and then take my negative 6 and multiply it through. Negative 6 times negative 2 is 12, and a negative 6 times 5 is negative 30x. There are no like terms to combine, so I'm just going to keep going here with moving my number with no variable. So that means subtracting 12. These are gone. Negative 138 minus 12 is a negative 150 equals negative 30x. Divide by negative, 30. Divide by negative 30. There we go, that's better. Divide by negative 30. Oh my word, I did it again. Try it again. Negative 30, there we go. And we get that 5 is equal to x, or x equals 5. All right, last one of these here. Distribute the negative 8 through. So negative 8a, negative 8 times 3 is a negative 24. And that is equal to negative 88. Move the number with no variable, so add 24 to both sides. These are gone. I'm left with negative 8a equals negative 88 plus 24 is a negative 64. Divide by the number in front of your variable. Last step, we get a is equal to 8. Final answer. Okay, now in this last section, again, this is the one thing that is a repeat material for this test. This was not in Chapter 3, this was in Chapter 2, but an extremely important topic that you need to know how to do. So when we factor, and we have 3 terms, remember 3 terms means trinomial, trinomial means table, so trinomial table. So I set up a table. What do I put in my table? Well, I'm going to put the 10 out here, and I'm going to put the negative 11 right here. I'm looking for 2 numbers that will multiply to give me multiply to give me 10, add to give me negative 11. So that will be a negative 1 times negative 10. You can run through your factors as much as you want until you get that answer that you're looking for, but eventually you'll get there. So m minus 1, this is how we write our answer, m minus 10. Okay, m times m gives you m squared, and then negative 1 times negative 10 gives you a positive 10. And then when we add negative 1 and negative 10, we get the negative 11. All right, next, again, trinomial table. Trinomial table. So 54 and 15. I need 2 numbers that will multiply to give me 54 and add to give me 15. So think about it for a second. Try some numbers out. What do we get? 9 times 6. Hopefully you got that. 9 plus 6 gives me 15. So that means in my answer, they will both start with an a because that is our variable here. A, I have plus 9 and a plus 6. And you could have those backwards. You could have a plus 6 and a plus 9. Doesn't matter. Those are the same thing. You don't have to write them both. Now, this one is the only one that's like this, okay, on this review at least. If you have 2 terms, remember your only options are either a greatest common factor, which we don't have. We don't have a variable here to pull out in the 64, and we don't have any number in here other than 1, so it's not a GCF. So that leaves us with a difference of 2 squares. So it is a difference. It's being subtracted. There's 2 terms, and they're both perfect squares. B squared is a perfect square. That's b times b. 64 is a perfect square. That's 8 times 8. So our answer then will look like this. They both start with a b. They both end with an 8. One's a positive and one's a negative, and it does not matter what order you have the positive and negative. Okay, all of your GCFs, all of your difference of 2 squares are like that. Okay. All right, last one. I need 2 numbers that will multiply to give me negative 10 and add to give me a positive 3. So think about it for a second. Try some out. 10 only has two sets of factors. It's either 1 and 10 or it's 2 and 5. So in this case, it's a negative 2 times 5. You might be thinking, well, why is it negative 2 and 5 and not negative 5 and 2? And that's because, remember, your middle sign has to match your bigger number. So that was a positive 3, so it's a positive 5. If that were a negative 3, same factors, 2 and 5, but it would be a negative 5 and a positive 2. Okay? So just keep that in mind. You know, it's something we had gone over a lot in the past, but it's been a while since we've done these. So one of my factors is x minus 2. The other factor is x plus 5. Final answer. And we are finished. So again, if you have any questions on this, if there's any of these problems that you are still a little bit unsure about, please let me know. Send me an email or a private comment, and I will get back to you.